Hi guys, I'm Bex Trista. I'm here in Comic Village at MCM and I have Martin with me, who is the creator of Punk's Not Dead. Can you explain the premise to this one?
Yeah, sure. It's basically a boy meets ghost buddy story between a young lad from the north of England called Fergie and a dead punk rocker who goes by the name of Sid. Any similarities to other dead punk rockers is purely coincidental.
Sid's a very common name.
Well, okay. Basically, what's happened is this punk rocker called Sid has basically been stuck in Heathrow Airport for 40 years.
In Heathrow Airport?
In a kind of limbo, basically.
That is Heathrow Airport in a nutshell.
Yeah, pretty much. Basically, it's not till Fergie turns up. Fergie realises he's the only person that can see this guy. And they realise they can't go, there's suddenly, for some reason, inexplicably, they can't go any more than 30 or 40 metres apart without being pulled back together by some invisible force. Mm-hmm. So essentially Sid's forced to go home with Fergie. And really the story is kind of about Fergie's estranged father and them going off trying to find them based in Sid's essentially forced to go with him. There's a lot more to it than that. There's kind of a B-side which is there's a small X-Files style department within the British government run by a very old lady called Dorothy Culpepper. Okay. And it's called the Department for Extra-Usual Affairs. And they're investigating all these kind of weird sites or weird kind of ghost things that go around. She's aware of Sid and various other ghosts as well. So really the story kind of spreads out from there. It's all set in Preston and Wigan in the first arc. And it kind of spreads out from there to London and so forth. There's lots of demonology stuff going on and Satanism, lots of music references. Yeah. It's kind of X-Files meets Coronation Street, I suppose.
X-Files meets Coronation Street with a ghost in limbo in Heathrow Airport. That's brilliant.
Yeah. I didn't write it, so you can't blame me for that. But it's kind of weird, but we've got big plans for it. So yeah. We're on the second arc at the moment as well, so there's more to come.
Yeah. How long have you been working on it so far?
Well, the first arc started in February this year, went through to February, March. So July. The trade version came out earlier this month. So we're already on the second arc. We're working on that. That's going to come out next February.
I thought you were going to tell me that you just started drawing it in February or something. I was just like, what?
No.
That would be madness. I would have been like, where were you? Slept?
I've been locked away in a darkened room for a long time.
Yeah. Not just since February, since before then. In Heathrow Airport, possibly.
Well, yeah, maybe. It felt like it.
Yeah, what was it like drawing this? Did you do a lot of, were you into punk culture and things like that? Were you looking at references or did you draw on your own experience?
Well, Shelley, who's the editor on the project, she kind of brought together me and David. We didn't know each other beforehand, so she brought us together. We're both similar ages, grew up with similar music, have similar tastes, I suppose. So, and Shelley's really into music as well, so all three of us together have managed to sort of pull this together and do something which is quite fitting for us, I suppose, really. So but I love punk music. Although I actually grew up kind of listening to sort of the American side of punk music, sort of the hardcores and kind of like Fugazi and stuff like that. The original sort of punk music from here was a little bit before my time, but yeah, I suppose stuff like the Clash and things like that.
So you got some reference to that kind of attitude and things to put into your Sid character.
That's kind of very much the kind of soundtrack to this book, really.
Yeah, and you've got plans for continuing this arc, presumably, as well? Yeah,
so the second arc starts in February, so we'll be released in February. We've got much more planned than that, but obviously we have to see how it goes. But certainly the second arc starts, and it'll be a 5-issue run for the second arc. That was announced at New York, actually, recently. So.
Oh, you're at New York Comic Con as well?
I wasn't. Shelley was there, so
cool.
Shelley was doing some IDW stuff, so announced it there. So, yeah.
Awesome. How long have you been working in the comics industry in general?
4 or 5 years professionally, I guess.
Yeah.
I started doing Death Sentence in Monte Nero back in 2014. So I started with that. I've done Marvel stuff, Hulk, Jessica Jones covers, Quicksilver covers. So it started to kind of
it's quite different working on Marvel things like Hulk to coming to this then. That's quite a different approach.
Yeah, very much so. This is a create your own book, so it's quite different really. Kind of like we don't have those constraints so much. Like we can start right from the beginning and build those characters up and design them and so forth. Obviously with things like the Hulk and things like that, you kind of
it's somewhat pre-existing style that you have to adhere to with that, whereas this, I guess, you've got so much more creative freedom.
Very much so, very much so. This is from the ground up, essentially, whereas kind of with other properties that are already kind of established, there's some room to play around with it, but essentially you're kind of, within a certain
you're part of a bigger
framework.
machine.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you've been enjoying working on this one so far?
Very much so, yeah. This is right up my street, kind of blending music and comics together. It's great. It's kind of exactly what I want to be doing. So essentially, it's a perfect project for us, really.
How's the artwork created? Is it digital or is it?
It's pretty much purely digital.
Okay.
There's a few kind of traditional media things that I can add in, but from the point of view of practicalities and speed, it's much quicker to do it digitally.
You've managed to create quite a handcrafted mixed media kind of look with it. It took me a few seconds of looking at it to sort of really place whether it was actually all digital or whether it was something that you'd started in traditional media and then moved in and worked on in digital.
Well, I mean, all the artists that I grew up loving, like people like Bill Sienkiewicz, Dave McKee, Kent Williams, all those kind of artists obviously all painted and drew traditionally.
Yeah.
So it's kind of taking some of those elements and trying to, obviously influences, they just happen,
I can start to see those, now you've mentioned those names, I can see those influences.
But they're very much the kind of thing that I kind of want to try and sort of, just bring into my style of work. But it's about trying to, all that's digital is trying to make it organic and feel kind of, so there's also hand-painted textures and so forth, and things like that you can throw into it to make it feel a little bit more kind of...
Yeah, I've heard of a lot of people doing that nowadays where they do a lot of painting. Someone like Mac Dixon, who creates a lot of work, he scanned in all of his own brushstrokes and used them as custom brushes in his online digital work, and there's a lot of ways to do it.
It makes sense. I mean, there's all these brushes like the Carl Webster brushes and things you can get now, which are kind of like trying to mimic traditional media, and they're really good, but there's still something to be said for like having hand-done stuff. There's those like happy accents you get with hand-painted stuff that you don't necessarily get with digital media, so it's quite nice to have those and add those into it really, and mix it up a bit.
Yeah. Do you start off with pencil drawings, or are you starting straight into digital?
Well, I mean, it's essentially the same thing, just straight into digital now.
Yeah, I guess now with the tablets and things, you're working straight on the screen, it's so similar.
I kind of work like really small thumbnails first of all, and I generally blow those up and use those as the pencils in the end, but they're fairly tight, my thumbnails, so I can...
So they've got that kind of fluidity of the small movements. Then
there's no point me drawing
taking the advantages of digital, but using some of the techniques.
Yeah, very much so. There's no point me drawing the same thing over and over again. I mean, and I don't really go kind of pencils, inks, colours. I kind of do some rough pencils and then sort of do the colours, then work on the inks afterwards and blend it all together.
Yeah.
There's no real rhyme or reason to it. I just sort of see how it comes out and sort of develop it.
I love it when people say that. I've done so many interviews this weekend where I'm saying to people, "This is an incredible creative choice," and they were like, "I just kind of did it because." And it's just kind of that flow.
Yeah, you kind of go on instinct to some extent, really, and just sort of see how it plays. I'm sure there's more of a pattern to it than I really realised, but it's not something that I've sat down and kind of listened to.
I think that's just like the understatedness of some of the most talented creatives I've met, and your artwork is stunning. It is so beautiful. Again, it took me a second to know if it was watercolour scanned in and worked on or actually all digital. And I do tend to find a lot of the people that are doing the best work often just kind of go, I just kind of threw something together. It just kind of happened.
Well, someone asked me about colour theory the other day, and I was like, I don't know.
It's like when you talk to an incredible musician, and they're kind of like, they don't know the names of the chords they're playing. They just kind of know what sounds good together.
Yesterday I had a conversation with somebody, so I'm going off track here a bit, but he was taking jazz guitar lessons. And he was saying there's like
That's a difficult thing to learn.
He was saying there's something like 4,000 rules, because it all sounds improvised and kind of,
It is and it isn't.
But it isn't.
It's making it sound like it's improvised.
And he's saying that there's these rules where you kind of like, if you look, it's like the knowledge of taxi drivers. You learn these rules, and then you know where you can do what you can do with certain things. And I'm sure that it applies to colour theory and things like that as well. You can kind of do that. Once you know those rules, you can kind of play around with it and work around those rules. But I'm yet to do that. I still feel like I'm kind of
music is still relevant to this comic, and I think music, art, whatever you are creating, it's something that comes from the heart. And I find that's something that often comes out the best in the independent comics, where you can really just put your heart and soul into it, and it's your baby. It's something you've created, and you've got that control over. And it's one of the reasons I find some incredible artwork coming out of these things. And you can take as much time as you need, because obviously this artwork is something that you're presumably doing. It's not on the schedule as if it were out of a big company. It looks like you've taken a long time with every single page of this comic.
I think the first issue in particular, we spent a long time trying to, it's all about establishing the look of it and everything. By the time we got to issue 4, we had some quite tight deadlines.
But you're in the flow by then.
In fact, I think there's something to be said for that spontaneity and working quicker. And I was kind of thinking, well, maybe issue 4 might not come out so well, but actually looking back at it, I think it's probably the freshest, the most exciting issue.
Okay.
It's a little bit more spontaneous, there's less noodling, you just have to sort of get on with it. And I think there's something to be said for that.
Stops you getting too perfectionist with it, lets you just get it out there.
I think so, yeah. I think that makes it. I think that's what I said into earlier about happy accidents and things. It's kind of, I think if you're kind of working at a pace and just like kind of not being quite so precious about stuff, I think it gives you an opportunity to sort of let things kind of just be.
And this is punk as well. Like, it's not supposed to be perfect. If it's too perfect, it wouldn't fit the punk aesthetic you were going for.
That's very true. Yeah.
So
I think that's why it works with less clean artwork, something a little bit more messy. I think it's pretty much the same thing. I think that helps it really. It's like kind of cutouts and kind of as I said, happy accidents, that makes a difference, I think, in making it look a little bit more kind of slightly messy in places.
Do you know where the story's going? Are you sort of informed the whole way? Or does the writer keep you guessing a little bit and you discover as it goes along?
He's kind of planned it out and told us essentially what each arc, where it could possibly go. But it's an organic process, and those things change, and kind of what he's planning now doesn't necessarily mean that's the way it's going to end up, because things develop.
So it's exciting for you as well to see how your own characters are evolving.
Yeah, well, between me and David, the writer, and Shelley, the editor, it's something that kind of develops and things change, and you change your plans as you go through. And once the script's done, it comes to me, and it may change again, so the artwork changes things. And for example, we drew a character in. Well, I drew a character into the one of the panels in issue 1, who was just kind of an incidental character. There was nothing to do with the story at all. But Shelley said then, who's this person? It really caught her eye.
This person,
Natalie here, in front here. And from there, David developed the story, and she became a major part of the story now.
Okay.
So things evolve like that.
That's really exciting.
And things like that have changed all the way through. Yeah, it makes it exciting, it makes it interesting, and hopefully that will continue and things will change. But as I say, we've kind of got a rough framework for the next few arcs, so we'll see where it goes from there.
Seeing how it flows. How have you found the response to be here at MCM when people come? I've seen a lot of people coming up to the store and taking a look.
Yeah, it's been really good actually. I haven't been to an MCM for years, so it's quite different, and it's been really positive. Yeah, really good. So it's quite encouraging to see.
Yeah, I've definitely seen quite a few people coming up and taking a look at this, and it caught my eye as I was doing my walk around the other day, and I was doing the whole of Comic Village. I definitely kind of went past and sort of went, oh look, punk, this is actually really good. I think that's what I said on the video. I need to come back and look at this again later, and kind of I had to keep going past it, and it did. Yeah, it's very, very distinctive, and I love the fact you've got the punk aesthetic there on the cover, and you can see from the outset this is something very, very intriguing and very impactful. That kind of old kind of graphic style you've got with the checkerboard down the sides of it and things like that.
Well, that's all Black Crown's doing, all the checkerboard and stuff like that. That's kind of Shelley's husband Philip does all the design for the books. So that's kind of very much, but that's very in keeping with all the other books. Like Tess Fallow did a book called Kid Lobotomy with Pete Milligan for Black Crown as well, and that's got similar kind of things. So they all kind of they all have this really distinct look, but you can tell they're all Black Crown books at the same time, which is really nice.
Which is really cool, and it works so well with the colours you've got on the covers as well.
Very much.
So it's awesome. It looks really, really exciting. I can't wait to read this one, and thank you for sharing it with us and coming back to MCM and joining the now ever-growing awesome Comic Village that we have here. So if people want to check this out, have you got a website?
You can go to Simmons-illustration.com for my website, or check me out on Twitter, which is Martin_Simmonds.
I will put links to that in the description below. And if you want to check out the comic, please do. It looks really, really awesome. Thank you for sharing it with us. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, click the like. I'm supposed to say things about liking, subscribing, bell smashing. There's too many things I'm supposed to say at the end of YouTube videos now. I don't want to say all the things here. Please support the indie comics, and thank you to my Patreons that let me come to these events and meet these amazing guys and read these awesome comics. Thank you again for sharing it.
That's a pleasure.
And I will see you next time at another MCM.
Cheers,
Bye.